And believe it or not, certain hygiene products can get you into big trouble these days. For the last month, one couple has been in jail on drug charges after police finally discovered that the drugs in question were simply bars of soap. Anna Del Cruz and Alexander Bernstein were pulled over last month for speeding in Pennsylvania. When the state trooper approached the car, he immediately claimed he smelled marijuana, to which Cruz admitted she had smoked earlier that day. The police officer then asked if he could search the car, and that's when the traffic stop took a turn for the worse. Soon after, the officer found 2 bricks of a white substance. Cruz and Bernstein immediately told the officer that it was homemade soap, but he didn't exactly buy the argument. Instead, he insisted that the powdery substance was cocaine, and that he determined that by conducting a special field test. He then arrested Cruz and Bernstein on cocaine trafficking charges and held them in jail for a month, with bail posted at up to $500,000. Of course, charges were dropped when lab testing finally indicated that the substance was in fact just soap. When we asked the Pennsylvania State Police how testing soap could turn up as cocaine, the PIO offered us this statement, quote, "We still consider this an ongoing and active investigation and are considering an internal review to make sure our policy was followed." To discuss that more, I was joined earlier by the attorney for Alexander Bernstein, James Heidecker. I started off by asking him why Anna Del Cruz's car was pulled over in the first place.
My honest to goodness sense is it was a profile stop. We had a young Hispanic lady driving a 2013 Mercedes-Benz. She was only going 5 miles over the limit. That's hardly reason to pull somebody over. I'm suggesting to you that if had she not been a young Hispanic lady and not been accompanied by Mr. Alexander, she would not have been pulled over.
Right. Well, I want to talk to you about the field testing because that's the most intriguing part of all of this. What exactly does field testing involve typically, and how was it determined in this case that it was cocaine?
Okay, field testing essentially is a shorthand way of getting a result as to what the substance is that one's carrying. It's a kit that's pre-prepared, and what you do is you take the product, the suspected drug, and deposit it in the ampule with the fluid, and what happens is the ampule then turns a certain color, and depending on the color it turns, it determines what the substance is. We've been using them in Pennsylvania for well over a quarter century, and they're honored by the lower courts, by the magisterial courts, in getting cases not only arrested and prosecuted, but getting them into the courts of common pleas. Now, in courts of common pleas at trial, you'd have to come with a formal state police crime lab report that would be an assay by a registered chemist. But what it does, it allows troopers and police officers to have a quick study, so to speak, on what the substance is and get a result.
Right.
What happened here is there were 2 packages, and the police and the trooper that accessed the packages presumed that it was controlled substance, i.e. cocaine. He then tested each package allegedly, and each package allegedly produced the result that the substances were cocaine. Predicated upon that, he brought the arrest warrants against not only Anna Del, who was the driver of the car, with the packages being in the trunk, but against my client, Mr. Bernstein, who was a passenger and had no connection to the car other than being involved as a passenger in the car.
Right, and you said allegedly the substance was tested. Is it possible at all that the state trooper did not actually conduct a field test at all?
Absolutely possible. There's 3 answers. Number 1, the test wasn't done at all. Number 2, the trooper wasn't honest and misrepresented the results of the test. And number 3, the test doesn't work. And if the test doesn't work, we have jailed an awful lot of people, presumptively, on the accuracy of these tests, which are accepted by the courts.
Well, I want to ask you about that because, I remember covering a similar case in which 2 young men were stopped and frisked in New York, and officers ultimately arrested them for allegedly carrying crystal meth, which they later found out was only Jolly Ranchers. So this is obviously not the first time we've seen these sort of field tests yield sort of bogus results. I mean, how detrimental can these field tests really be if they're not done properly?
Well, they're very detrimental. In my client's case, since November 13th up until last Tuesday, he was housed in prison under $500,000 bail, and same held true with Anna Del Cruz. They were used and accepted by the court to issue an arrest warrant, reviewed by a magistrate who denied our bail motion, kept them locked up, predicated upon these tests being accurate. So they can be very damning.
And I want to ask you about that. I mean, they were in jail for an entire month, and I can't conceive of how they could have been in jail for that long. I mean, what does this testing involve? Why does it take an entire month?
The testing at the state police barracks, actually, this believe it or not, was expedited. What happens is the people are prosecuted through the preliminary hearing based upon the Sergi-NARC kit, or the NARC kits, the short form testing that we just discussed. The results don't come back from the State Police Crime Lab oftentimes for 4, 5, 6 months later. It was really fortuitous in this case that the testing at the State Police Crime Lab, which exonerated the substances from being controlled, was done rather quickly. Had it not been done within the month, they'd have still been housed in prison.
That's incredible. I cannot believe it takes that long. But as I understand it, Alex, your client will be filing a suit. Can you talk about how this experience has really affected him and what sort of damages he'll be seeking?
Well, we're not seeking damages at this point. We haven't determined whether a suit's going to be forthcoming. Right now, Mr. Bernstein's home enjoying the holidays. It's his decision whether or not he wants to pursue this any further. At this point, there's been no decision whether or not this is the under. Mr. Bernstein's home enjoying the holidays. It's his decision whether or not he wants to pursue this any further. At this point, there's been no decision whether or not this is the underpinnings of a civil rights suit or not. We have to give the benefit of a doubt, just like we weren't given the benefit of the doubt, a little bit at least, to the state police to find out how this could have happened.